Today I wanted to show you guys how to get a faux antique look. I've distressed this off-white paint a little bit, and then I've added some dark brown highlights around the edges. And you can see how different the drawer looks from the door that I haven't done yet. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that today. The first thing I'm going to do is distress the drawers and show you how to do that. And I'm going to use a Ryobi sander, and it's got 100 grit sandpaper on it, but you could probably use like 150 maybe, that's not quite as rough. Now this is going to be loud, but this is going to be really quick, and I'm going to tilt the drawer so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to show you a little bit of the sanding. See how easy that was? Now I'm going to brush all this little sanding bits off so that I can move on and show you. And you know, there's no need of me showing you the whole thing. I'm going to show you a small area on the drawer first, and then I'm going to move on to the cabinet. But that's how you do the distressing. You can do it by hand, but it's going to take a whole lot longer. For the antique look around the drawers, we need to use a really dark paint. Just any good paint that you have on hand. I wouldn't use one of those little acrylic paints in the bottle. Some of those tend to wash off. This is French Roast Color from Miss Lillian's No Wax Chalk Paint. Pour a little bit in my cup, and then I'm going to mix it about half and half with water. It doesn't have to be exact. Stir that really well, and that's what we're going to use around all of the little details to give it the dark color. Okay, I'm going to stick my brush into the paint, just the little tips. Now I've been using a little bristle brush, but I decided this morning to try the foam brush, and I think I like it a lot better for this technique. What you do is you get a little bit of paint on the end of your brush, and then you just run it down the sides. And it doesn't matter if it gets you know, on your paint there, all spread out on the end. And then you run it over the edges where you've distressed and you've got that brown paint. Run it over the top of your distressing. Now we're going to take a damp rag and wipe that back. We're going to wipe the top where the brown was, and if you get some over here, don't worry about it. Just take your fresh rag and wipe that off. And then you just wipe this back until you get the look that you're going for. And you know, sometimes you may get a little down here, but that's going to give it the antique look. It's okay if you've got a little bit of light brown color here. If you get too much and it happens to dry, just take your white paint, your off-white paint, and paint over it. It's not a big deal. It's easy to do. Okay, now let's go over that inside edge with our brush. But you can see here where now all of this that was raw wood is dark, and up here where we distressed is all dark. So let's just take that paint and run it over the inside. I got a little bit too much. I should have dabbed a little bit of that liquid off, but that's okay. As you can see, you can just wipe it back. And as I said, if you get some inside, just wipe it off. But see how cool that looks? And when it dries, it's going to be a little bit darker. It's a little bit wet right now and shiny, but that's all it is to this technique. Nothing to it. It's a little bit time consuming, but it's worth it. Okay, I'm going to go over just a small area of this drawer again, just so you can get the whole feel and be sure what you're doing here. Stick your tips of your brush in your paint, And let's dab a little bit off so I don't have paint running everywhere like I did before. Run over the top where you've distressed this, because we're going to darken that raw wood. Put you some paint along the bottom edge. Put some paint along the raw wood on the edge of the drawer. And then we're going to do the top. And now we're going to wipe that all back till we just have a little bit of the dark paint left in the crevices. And see how I got my rag got a little crazy on me? But you just wipe that off. It's not a big deal. I keep you another fresh rag. And that's it in a nutshell. Okay, I've showed you how to use this technique on the drawers, and now I'm going to show you a little bit of the body so you can see how it goes. I'm going to turn the sander on again. It's going to be loud, but this is going to be quick. Okay, we're going to start with just that much, because that will, this little area here is going to show you how we're going to do the whole body. Like I said, it's a little bit time consuming, but it's worth it. All right, I've got all that sand off. As you can see, this distressing is not exact, it's not uniform, but you don't want it to be. So don't worry about it if it gets a little crazy. And if you do distress it too much, you know, all you have to do is, like I said, is paint over it and start again. Okay, now I'm going to darken these details like we did before. So go over your raw areas, your distressed areas, with this dark brown paint, so we can give it an aged look. And I may go back on this and do a little bit of distressing in the middle. And I'm going to show you how to get those little sunk in areas, or whatever you want to call them, dark too. Okay, let's be sure I've gone over all of this distressed stuff, and then you just take your damp rag and just simply wipe over it. And you can see how you've got that aged, distressed look. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, let me show you how we do the those little deep channels, or whatever you want to call them. We're going to just run our brush all the way down through there. And then we're going to take our rag again and wipe it. And I may not even distress this middle area like I talked about, because as you can see, I've got some of the brown in there. So it's going to give me that aged look. But you can leave as much or as little of that brown paint in there that you want to. This isn't a precise thing. So just go with what you feel like. This is all about making it, you know, your style, just for you. I decided I don't have as much control with the sponge brush. It holds too much paint. So I went back to my little bristle brush, and I want to show you how that looks. I can get into these little crevices and not leave near as much paint, and I like that better. So we don't have as much paint to wipe off, and if I wipe off too much like I did then, I just put a little bit more back in there. So that's how it looks when you use a brush. So you can, if you try this technique, you can see which one you like the best.